Jamaica caper. It's kind of like the Jamaica
All right, we're
caper.
going.
It is, but
I'd like to call this joint meeting of the Stuart City Commission, Community Redevelopment Agency, and Community Redevelopment Board to order on July 27, 2026 at 4 p.m. Mary, if you could call the roll.
Chair Reed,
Here.
Board Member Clark,
Here.
Board Member Giobi,
Here.
Board Member Rich,
here,
Board Member DeBerard, Board Member James.
here,
That was Community Redevelopment and City Commission. Now we've got Community Redevelopment Board, Chair DeBerard, Vice Chair Moser,
Here.
Board Member James,
here,
Board Member Laughlin,
Here.
Board Member Manera,
here.
Board Member Whalen. We're all set.
Thanks. If you could join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can we get a motion for approval of the agenda as posted?
Move approval of the agenda as published.
I'll
Second.
second. Oh, sorry. We have
Fine.
people.
We have a motion for approval of the agenda from Commissioner Clark and seconded by Commissioner Giobi. Are there any public comments on this motion? Seeing none, Mary, you could call the roll.
Chair Reed,
Here?
Board
Yes.
Member Clark,
Here.
Board Member Giobi,
Here,
Board Member Rich, Board Member James.
Yes.
Did Board Member Rich respond?
We are, yeah. I
Yes.
said here,
Yes,
that's
yes,
just yes, but I
Okay.
think it totally threw them off.
Here, yes.
Vice Chair Moser,
Yes.
Board Member James,
Yes.
Board Member Laughlin,
Yes.
Board Member Manera.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Can we get an approval of the minutes? Now, this is, the first one is for the CRA and CRB board members only. For the minutes on 4/27/26.
So moved.
Second.
So we have a motion for the approval of the minutes from the joint CRA and CRB meeting from Board Member Moser and seconded by Board Member Frederick James. Are there any public comments on this motion? Seeing none, Mary, if you could call the
We
roll
could
for
do
this
an all
one.
in favor for this one?
You want me to do it all in favor?
Yeah.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Can we get an approval of the minutes for the CRA on 6/22/2026 minutes?
Move approval of the published minutes.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion for approval of the CRA board member minutes from Commissioner Clark.
6/22/26.
Yep, and then seconded by Board Member Frederick James. Are there any public comments on this motion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Comments from the public on non-agenda items. Do you have any public comment?
I do have a
Yes,
public
one.
comment, Mayor. Robert Mayone.
Yes, you can come to the podium. It's 3 minutes, Robert. And if you could just state your name for the record.
Thank you. Good evening. Robert Mayone, 4461 Southeast Federal Highway. I have 2 items. At the June 8th meeting, Alan Marcus of Sign It and I raised this sign issue. For non-structural, non-electrical base change, the city required a licensed contractor, costly wind load calculations, and a $150 permit. Requirements not shown in its historical records. I have complied and been fined $2,250. I asked the commission to put this problem on the agenda. My second item. For 26 years, my business has rented, stored, displayed, sold, and serviced all ordinary activities allowable within a CPUD. Nearly 20 years ago, the city pushed to annex my property, accepting its businesses, parking, outdoor display, and storage. Staff testified under oath that I needed a minor amendment. Now it treats that activity as new and demands a major CPUD amendment with a costly survey, public hearings, and discretionary commission approval to repair the city's defective records. I changed brands and products, not the use. U-Haul is a rental, sheds or retail. A different product does not transform an established business into a new land use. Yet in case CV 2614, staff used misinformation, conjecture, and assumptions under oath to influence the magistrate's findings, deadlines, and fines. Afterward, the city attorney admitted in writing that my CPUD agreement is ambiguous, has no development order or listed uses, and that the city was merely assuming what was intended. I hold 3 BTRs currently. The Home Depot also rents trucks and sells sheds, and has only 1 BTR for retail, the same classification I hold. The city demanded 2 additional BTRs and blocked them because of its defective CBUD, and now fines me $250 per day for BTRs it refuses to process. The remaining BTR, parking, and storage issues arise from the city's defective documents. Another $200 daily fine is scheduled for September 15th over parking and storage present and accepted at annexation. The city created regulatory trap and has caused disruption, expense, and lost business. Last year, the city approached my customer paying $2,000 per month for storage on my lot and prohibited them from doing business with me, causing me to lose $24,000 per year. I respectfully ask the Commission to direct staff to recognize my established uses and either process the 2 BTRs or confirm my 3 existing BTRs are sufficient, and direct the city attorney to present the post-hearing admissions to the magistrate and support relief from fines and deadlines. Any correction must be city-initiated and city-funded without any fees, survey costs, and no surrender of rights. The city created this problem. It must own it, correct it, and stop punishing a local businessman for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Is this, this would have been maybe more appropriate for the regular city commission meeting, but is this something that Mike, our city manager, and Lee, I'm assuming, can look into or are looking into?
They're very well aware of it.
To address your comments just now. All right, thanks, guys.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
We can't, but
Thanks, Commissioner Rich.
I have no further public comment.
All right, seeing no further public comment, do we have comments from board members? If you could just flip your card up, and I'll do my best just to make sure you're recognized. Board Member Moser.
Okay, I have a few things and I'll try to keep them quick. First of all, there's an FDOT workshop for the Willoughby extension. Tomorrow is virtual and Wednesday is in person at the 10th Street Community Center. So I'd urge commissioners, CRB members, the public to attend to see what's happening there, make sure their voices are heard. Personally, I think that network development is something that's really needed in Stuart, but it needs to be context sensitive. If we keep spending all of our money and prioritizing large arterial roads, we're gonna keep getting large arterial traffic. So, something to consider. Second, I'm gonna bring this up now instead of during the street tree presentation. When I was looking through that presentation and I look at the land development code, I think that our trees in the code need to be updated to better reflect what is it, a canopy tree, when is it appropriate, and to make sure that any new businesses or residents that are building are adhering to that. I think it's time for an update to that. And last, a couple of months ago, Stuart Main Street was presenting to the CRB, and they had mentioned the state of Flagler Park and how our city does not have a parks master plan, which I hadn't realized until she said it. So I wanted the commission and our board members to just think about that, something to consider, so that we can foster a community-led vision for the parks in our city. When I look at our zoning maps, it looks like almost all of our parks are in the CRA, so that could be something that's funded by the CRA. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Moser. Do we have any other board member comments? Seeing none, we're going to move on to our first action item regarding the street tree infill program. And Paul, you have a presentation?
I believe it's a resolution.
Yeah, I need to read the title in.
Okay.
Resolution number 04-2026 CRA, a resolution of the Board of Community Redevelopment Agency of the City of Stuart, Florida, authorizing the Street Tree Infill Program Master Plan, authorizing the implementation of the plan within the public right-of-way of the community redevelopment area, providing for an effective date and for other purposes.
I'll introduce the item. Panal Gandhi Savdas, CRA Director for the record. This is a master plan that we've been working on for at least a year. It was presented to the CRB earlier this month, and the board voted 5-0 in support of the master plan. This has been discussed with the CRB and City Commission and is a priority in the CRA plan also. So this is something that's been in the works for a couple of years and discussed with both the boards. The project began with an inventory of our existing street trees and evaluation of the tree canopy coverage to identify if there are any gaps and opportunities for additional trees. And based on that analysis, we were able to identify planting locations within the right-of-way and recommendation for appropriate tree species and planting priorities. Implementation for this project will occur over multiple years, with funding allocated annually over the next 5 to 10 years. And this is something you will see in the CRA budget in the upcoming year. It allows the CRA to expand the tree canopy while aligning with available funding and capital improvement projects. Once the inventory was completed, we prioritized the area by looking at key factors like where there were canopy deficiencies, gaps and opportunities for additional planting, enhancing our streetscape, and opportunity to improve walkability and neighborhood character. This approach will ensure that we focus on areas where the community will have the greatest benefit. Once the master plan is adopted, we will further evaluate these priority locations for site constraints, if there are any utility conflicts, appropriate tree species, and long-term maintenance plan, and overall feasibility and benefit to the community. So adoption of the plan does not authorize staff to begin construction or commit funding at this time. There is no immediate fiscal impact associated with this approval. Each opportunity area will be evaluated individually, and it will require separate funding decisions, budget appropriations, and CRB and CRA board approval. So today, staff is just requesting approval and adoption of the street tree infill program master plan as a framework to guide future implementation. We do have Jake Clemens and Brian Good here from Kimley Horn to give a more detailed presentation of the master plan, recommendations, and implementation strategy. So I'll hand it over to Jake.
Welcome, Jake.
Afternoon, everybody. My name is Jake Clemens. I'm a landscape architect with Kimley Horn Associates out of our Vero Beach office. First, I would like to thank everyone for taking time to be here today. Today, I'm happy to present to you the City of Stuart CRA Street Tree Infill Program. We're going to go over the plant material that we ultimately landed on for implementation. We're going to talk about some of the design implementation tools and the key maps that identify the areas of opportunity within the CRA. So for project overview, this is in the graphic to the left, the City of Stuart city limits, and it shows the CRA and how it is situated within the city limits. The CRA is roughly about 1,100 acres, comprising about 19% of the City of Stuart's geographical area. So here's our master plant palette that we landed on. We came out with 16 trees. These trees, of them, 9 of them came off of prior approved tree planting programs, one being the, one more time, the residential tree planting program and the federal highway tree planting program. Each are indicated there in blue and orange. So you'll see the plants that came specifically from those two programs will have the blocks in the top left corner to indicate which plan they came from. Trees that do not have them came from recommendations from city staff and other sources. So we further broke down the master plant palette into 16 general plant material information sheets. For, for this presentation, we chose the live oak as our example. And now. Sorry, guys. All right, cool. Now I got control. So we chose the live oak for this presentation. So in the bottom left-hand corner of the graphic, you'll see a tree image location caption. The live oak that you see here is located at Memorial Park in Stuart. To the right of the graphic, you have this application category table. This is just a breakdown of various application areas that we could implement street trees within and our recommendations for that particular plant material in those said areas. At the bottom of the sheet, you'll see a general characteristics, canopy spread, typical height and growth rates, whether the tree is evergreen, semi-evergreen, deciduous, and so forth. So the tree application matrix is a compilation of those individual information sheets, application charts. So you'll see here, we have our 16 trees, and across the top you have the application areas and the recommendations for each of those spread out throughout. So this is the Florida Power and Light, Right Tree, Right Place 5-step policy. A lot of words here, but the big takeaway from this is a recommendation from Florida Power and Light on how far you should set back certain types of trees based upon their growth height. Biggest thing for this is, for us, is during the design phase of this, is to know this is where we should be placing trees, or we need to be taking into consideration maintenance for these trees later on. So here we have our breakdown of our opinion of probable cost. Please keep in mind that these prices you see here are as of June of 2026. We have two buckets that we landed in here. One is the code minimum trees. The other one is the CRA preferred trees. The code minimum trees follow the land development code's dimensions of 12 feet in height and 6 feet in spread as the bare minimums to meet the threshold. And here you'll see that each category has the 16 trees listed out and a price per tree range. Now, these ranges do include the installation and delivery estimates. So then we have our CRA preferred trees. Now, the height and spread of each of these will vary by species. These are the ideas that you would get a tree that greatly exceeds the code minimum tree. But what comes with that is a higher price tag. But for the higher price tag, you get a bigger tree that's ready for providing shade, which is the ultimate goal of this program. So here we have our CRA overall zone map broken down into 13 zones. I want to draw your attention to this number at the bottom, 3,163. This number is indicative of how many street tree opportunities there are based upon the assumption of one large shade / canopy tree per every 30 linear feet within the areas of opportunity. So, and I'll go over the areas of opportunity in more depth in just a second.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
That number reflects this.
No, sir, that is not. That is the number of opportunities.
Strip the whole thing.
That is where you have areas of opportunity, therefore there's gaps in the canopy, those canopy deficiencies, there's 3,163 opportunities.
In addition to the existing canopy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Based upon a one tree for every 30 linear feet. Well, I'll get into that a little further here in just a second. So after discussions with city staff, we broke this down to a three-phased approach. Phase 1 being zones 9 through 13. Phase 1 is where the vast majority of opportunities exist at. Phase 2 being zones 5 through 8, and phase 3 being zones 1 through 4. So here's an example of one of our enlargements. We chose zone 9 because it is one of the larger opportunities. So you see where zone 9 is within the CRA there. Here we have a chart or a key showing our tree opportunity zones and our existing canopy zones. The tree opportunity zone is shown in green. So if you look at the graphic to the left, you'll see these areas that are outlined in green. There's a number hovering above it. So I'll direct your attention to where it says Jimmy Buffett Memorial Highway there. Just beneath it, there's the number 40. That is indicative of there's 40 opportunities for trees to go in at a 1 tree per 30 linear feet within that green area of opportunity. So that concludes my presentation. I want to thank you all again. I would like to open it up to any questions at this time.
Do any of the board members have comments, questions? Board Member Moser.
I gave a lot of comments last time, so I'll try and keep it quick. This whole idea came up with some current and past CRB board members, and from everyone I've spoken to, we're all in support of this and really excited about it. This improves our city's mobility, improves comfort throughout the city. There'll be a huge economic benefit. I often say that Stuart is a 3-season city because it's too hot to move around here in the summer, and if we have trees, we can make a big difference for people wanting to come downtown and use our businesses. A couple of comments, some things I didn't catch last time, but I'm wondering if we could consider the queen crepe myrtle as a species. These are the trees with the purple flowers that have been planted out here on Flagler over the last couple of years. They're doing really well, other than like 2 of them. And I've seen them planted in commercial and residential properties in the city. And just for folks who don't know crepe myrtles really well, there's the traditional one you're used to seeing all over the city. They don't really like to grow this far south, but the queen crepe myrtle does, and from what I understand, it performs well in hurricanes. Another one is sea grape. I think both of these species could be good for the smaller tree species that maybe is going to be closer to a utility line or a place where not larger. The only other thing I caught, and I'm bringing this up, I just worked with a large city on the west coast of Florida, and so I'm familiar with their standards right now. The black olive and the live oak for the median island, we have conditional or no. That city requires 100 square feet for a live oak before planting it. So I would say maybe that could be changed to conditional as well.
Okay.
No other comments. I'm really excited about this.
Thanks, Board Member Moser. Board Member Jeff Manera.
Yeah, I just had a couple of observations. I noticed the difference between the code minimum and the CRA preferred. Most of them aren't crazy, but pigeon plum and the royal palms, dramatic difference. And can we get a little more like color and detail on what the difference in height and coverage is going to be for that additional cost on those two? Substantial.
Yeah, sure. I'd love to add some insight to that. So I'll focus on the Florida Royal Palms just because that's the easier one to explain. The Florida Royal Palms, obviously, we had that freeze back in February, and basically every nursery north of Stuart lost probably the vast majority of their nursery stock. And so they're really hard to source anywhere north of West Palm Beach right now. And so because of the just supply and demand for that tree, especially when you start getting into the 25-foot plus gray woods, which is going to be the more CRA preferred specimen quality, that's why that price jumps significantly.
What about the pigeon plum? Goes from
So let me flip back to,
650 to 7,000.
so the pigeon plum, because that's a very slow growing tree, and to get nursery stock at that size, an actual like tree that's ready to be a shade tree, you're going to need a very mature tree at that point. And so just because of the amount of time, that's what nurseries are asking for. Yes, sir.
Thanks, Jeff. Commissioner Giove?
Get my name to stand up.
You can flip it.
That's right. So, of these trees, Bonnie, I like the idea of crepe myrtles because I understand they grow quickly. So we're in a situation where you don't have to wait for a tree to mature maybe years. So But you mentioned earlier, we need to update the type of trees that are acceptable within the CRA,
Well, just the land development code
or in the land
generally
development code.
throughout the city, which, that's why I brought it up then and not now, but obviously they're looking at that, the code minimum trees in this list.
Okay.
But yes, so there's the, I can't remember the scientific name of the regular crepe myrtle.
It's Lygostromia indica.
Indica, yeah. We do have those down here. They grow more slowly. They like it to be a little bit cooler. If you look at maybe Tampa North, they're just growing way bigger and better. The queen crepe myrtle is this newer species that I understand grows further south. So those are the ones, the trees with the purple flowers out on Flagler, that I would possibly like to see added to the list. One, because we've already got them downtown and it would add continuity, but two, I just think that they are not native, but they could work well in small spaces, and they seem to be performing well here.
So would we need to update the land development before we could select the trees?
No, I think
Oh,
that-
okay.
those are totally separate.
No, ma'am.
Yeah,
There
totally
would be no
separate.
need.
Okay.
Something for you all to consider as mission. The land development code separate of this.
The other question I have is, it doesn't state anywhere, and it shouldn't because it's just about presenting the trees. The ongoing management of the trees, trimming them and everything, would that be out of CR funds or out of city funds for the, the Parks and Rec? Who would be, what budget would be responsible for doing the trees within the CRA?
Well, if the CRA implements the project, then I would budget to maintain those trees.
Okay, so it
it
would
would
be
be a
coming out of
separate
CR
line
funds,
item in
not-
my budget for maintenance.
City budget for the rest of maintenance throughout the city. Okay. Well, that's important. We're coming to a point where we might be looking at crews and all of that information, right? The other thing, and the city manager and I discussed this, there was no cost involved in all of the information, but we broke it down. So some of that cost has been paid already for the presentation? Yeah, this work.
Right, so
Yeah.
the master plan
That's the master,
was
okay.
in the CIP and the budget last year,
Okay,
so we
that's what I
were
thought.
directed to move forward with the master plan, and we
There was
did.
nothing in this that, yeah,
Yes, that's,
okay.
No
And I-
promissory note.
Nothing
to
to
the
go
future.
forward, okay. And we're obviously doing a 5 to 6 year plan to implement all of this,
Or longer.
or longer, depending on funds and when.
We realized that. We realized that this is a quality of life improvement that is desirable. Obviously, this work is done,
Yes,
and that's the purpose of this work. But on schedule, as soon as possible, but could be long-term as well.
so the next step would be actually picking the type of trees we want and where they go. Would that be the next step?
I would say probably finalizing our plant pad would be the next step, yes.
Okay,
And I appreciate input from council and from the board.
right. Just as a personal, I know they're more expensive, but to wait 4 and 5 years for trees to develop to the point that they would provide shade is not advantageous, I think, to us. It's probably better to maybe buy less trees, but have them where they're almost ready to shade when they're planted, or within a year or two. So I think that's a better way to spend our money.
Well, the root systems, anyway, those are things that they'll be taken care of in the course of.
Next phase of
Right,
the-
but they should be discussed. I mean, we should discuss them. I know that we're not doing them next week, but we should discuss them as a way of plan forward.
Ms. Clark, the application areas on each of those charts, those do take root characteristics into account. So that's why, like, you don't see live oaks and small median islands and things like that.
Right. And is there, would this be a committee that would select the trees, or it would be?
We
CR
are, yeah.
We are the committee that will be selecting the trees, okay?
I think your consultant's gonna, if this is approved, their next step is getting in a more detailed plan, where they're gonna look through
What trees are more
and
beneficial for what
utilities and where they
streets?
can and can't put trees. They're gonna get into the real nitty gritty and then present that to us next.
Detail right away for root ball and.
CRB and then the commission.
CRA wouldn't
You
be
need a
involved?
motion to
It
that?
would be the CRB and the CRA that would approve.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Giove. Commissioner Rich?
My first comment is, why doesn't my Geiger tree look like this? I've had one for years,
Speak to the landscape.
Well, I'm fairly confident
and
that,
it is so spindly, and I actually noticed them around town, and they're all very, first of all, insects love them. And that's a challenge. So I don't know if this panel is generally accepted in a broad area of Florida, or are we very specific, and that's the point of my question, are we very specifically examining which trees?
so primarily driven off of the hardiness zone that Stuart lies within is what drives a lot of the plant material choices. The other major consideration was space limitations for things like, the little strip of grass between a parking stall and a sidewalk. We had to think about those sorts of things and find the appropriate plant material that would fit there, not cause heaving of asphalt and sidewalks. So a lot of that is driven by just the hardness zone being in South Florida, and then availability of plant material for those specific applications.
I guess I'm asking, probably the hardiness drive. Because I say, I do notice them around town, and they all seem to struggle. I don't think there's anything more important we can do in the city to put shade. People are really aware of it. They care so much. The difference in walking down the street that has shade, just remarkable. I was on Akron recently, planted 2 stable. I spoke to 5 people, and 3 of them said, "Why did you plant those stupid palm trees?" That there's no, people are really aware of it, care. So I'm so happy to see this work get done. Obviously, we're looking at some big numbers. We need to make a budget commitment, not only to buying them, but to planting them, making sure we're watering. Some of these live oaks, they require more complicated planting, isn't it? Aren't there boxes like put a sidewalk?
You can, yes.
Ferguson?
There are several companies out
Yeah,
there
yeah,
that
yeah.
make tree wells, yes, sir.
So, I would hope, people are still mad at those oaks. They still come. And the roots, but there are downtowns around Florida, and perhaps that's how live oaks. Be a budget soon. Get it.
Thank you, Commissioner Rich. Board Member Laughlin, did you have a comment?
Just looking at the Royal Poinciana and some of these on your grades, I don't see where some of these identify their hurricane sturdiness. I mean, some trees are more fragile than others. I know live oaks have been mentioned by other folks as being more hurricane tolerant. How would you rate? Let me back that up. I would like to see if we do implement this program where we have some streets that have a lot of color that pops, and Royal Poinciana does that in spring. Where you drive down a road and you have a nice colorful lane. But how would this hold up to hurricanes? Any idea on that?
So I think it would be honestly a tree by tree basis. It really comes down to where you're putting it, how much root space availability for it to become a secure tree in the ground. If you put it right up against a roadway. Its roots got to dive down and get underneath the road in order to become stable. So it's hard to say like this particular species is going to be hurricane. The only ones you can really say about would probably be palms because they are in hurricane prone natural environments. Other than that, really any tree could be susceptible to a hurricane.
All right, thanks.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Board Member Laughlin. Commissioner Giobi?
In line with what Commissioner Rich said, I just wanted to clarify because I believe that CRA said the maintenance would be in their budget, not in the city budget.
For any new trees that we plant for this program.
Well, then I guess
not
my
the-
question is asked again, which ongoing budget, or whose ongoing budget would the maintenance fall into?
Right, so any new trees that we plant, the CRA would be responsible for maintenance, and that money would transfer into general funds.
Okay, so not just initial, but ongoing maintenance. All right,
Ongoing maintenance,
coming from the
right.
CRA monies. The other thing is, yeah, that was my other question I had forgotten to ask, sorry. Considering the weather patterns for the last year or two, it has been extremely cold, end of December into February, even March this last year. So when you present us with these trees, depending on where their location is, type of tree, that would all take that into consideration. Is there how sturdy are they in those situations? Not even just a hurricane, but the fact that they have to go through a cold winter here in Florida, which they're not used to. I mean, we did see a lot of trees lost in many places.
Sure. That's a great question. So the cold snaps we've been experiencing over the last couple of winters, where we do get down below freezing temps and we start seeing the decay and dieback of a lot of plant material. When you look at it across the expanses of history, those are anomalies, those are outliers. So a lot of the plant material you see there will have, in certain instances, if you have those cold snaps again, will have decay and dieback, but it doesn't necessarily mean the plant is going to die every time it gets cold. It really comes down to how long and how cold throughout that duration. So like you can drive up and down US 1 all the way into Fort Pierce and you'll see Florida Royal palms that the further north you got, the more often you see them that have died or had more dieback on them. And so, but the further south, closer to Stuart, it's almost an afterthought at this point because it's already recovered. So it really comes down to how cold and the duration of that cold snap. And so that will be a consideration, to answer your question, that will be a consideration.
And it's a project over
selection.
5 to 6 years, so we can see what the next weather patterns are for next winter
Yes,
and the
ma'am.
following winter, so we can base it on that. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Rich?
Yeah, I just have a question for Ms. Moser. Aren't treed, just to remind ourselves, treed streets are safer streets, aren't they?
Yes.
Why?
And they're cars go
Yes.
slower on treed
Yeah.
streets.
The vertical element on the sides of the
Right.
streets tend to narrow the view, and so cars drive slower, which actually increases their field of vision. So if you're going 40 miles an hour, maybe your field of vision is this big. You're slowing down to 5, it's this big. So it makes the street safer. It makes cars drive the speed limit and not into speed. And I just wanted to make a point that is a good point about the trees and the freezes. Myself and my neighbor, we both have a lot of trees in our yard, and we're like the only ones in our neighborhood who did not experience major losses because those trees saved all the other plants in our yard. So that's another benefit that we can think about when we have these strange things happening with our weather. You know, the trees are.
I mean, maybe a priority. Primary for cars. Maybe those are so interesting. Would be. That's thought.
Board Member Moser, did you still have any comments? Commissioner Clark?
Yeah, thank you. This might be getting in the weeds a little bit, but I know that when we have certain trees, some tend to drop a lot of leaves. I don't know if the sycamore is one of those, but it's also a very good shade tree. I know we have the crepe myrtles now, like along Osceola, and those, they drop, then they dry out really sometimes, and they just need to be cut back. But between the leaf dropping and if there's some of these species that have a tendency to have a lot of volunteers, then, you know, that's more maintenance that has to be done because you're always gonna have babies coming up. So, but I think that these are all very good. And with this palette, Ms. Mosier, were you saying that, you know, because the crepe, that particular crepe myrtle is not really a, you know, big shade tree. It's more, I think of a specimen. We have them along, Flagler, and we have them over on East Ocean. But they're not on this list. Is that what you were saying, that they needed to be on this, the CRA approved tree plant palette?
I'd like to see them considered, not the Lagerstromia indica, the Lagerstromia
Like,
speciosa, yes, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to see them here. And obviously, we want big shade trees as many places as we can.
Yeah,
But where
yeah,
we're
yeah.
limited by utilities or you just width of the planting area, it's one we
for
can
this year,
consider.
because we still want to keep some, even if we're looking for shade trees along the street, we still want to keep our flooring trees idea. I think we have, and we do have existing flooring trees along East Ocean with the tababui and the crepe myrtle, what is it, queen crepe myrtle. All right, that's it. Do we need to make a motion so that they can start moving forward?
Yeah.
What's the ordinance number?
Resolution number.
Resolution number 04-2026 CRA. I move approval as provided to us and discussed, and should we add that, the suggestion to add, to look into queen crepe myrtle? And that's it? No other conditions?
And the sea grape.
Sea grape, another big maintenance, but that's okay. That's my motion, sir.
Well, you can ask it during the motion if you'd like, but
My motion hasn't been seconded, but that's my motion, unless, Lee's the motion clear?
it's a lot of trees.
So we had published in the agenda a proposed resolution 04-2026. I think that's what you're referring to.
Yes,
right,
sir.
Commissioner Clark? And you, with the extra conditions, it's just to consider the addition of the queen crepe myrtles and sea grapes to be added to the list in the master plan.
Okay,
Is
yes.
that right? Okay. I think that clarifies
That's
it if
clear.
anybody.
Yeah,
Wasn't clear.
is there a second on the motion from Commissioner Clark?
Yeah.
All right, so we have a motion for resolution number 04-2026 from Commissioner Clark and seconded by Commissioner Rich, including the queen crepe myrtles and the sea grapes. Are there any public comments on this motion? Seeing none, do any of the board members have comments? Commissioner Giobi.
Question is, if we're being specific about trees, later on, as we're in the process of moving forward, does that preclude us from adding another tree?
No.
Well, you're approving the palette today
Okay.
with the additional of 2 trees, and then we'll come forward with more specific plans with those trees that were approved today.
Yeah.
I have a question, Panal. How much annually does the CRA plan on setting aside for this program?
So we'll have to do additional planning for each opportunity zone. So I plan to budget about $100,000 for planning, and then for implementation would be about $200,000. And it could be less, it could be more, it's just how fast do we want to move forward?
And that would be for this year's
It will
budget
be in the
work? Okay.
upcoming budget, right?
So 100,000 annually, and then initially it was 200,000?
Right.
And the 200,000 initially, is that specifically towards the trees, or does any of that go to Kimley Horn? I understand it's already been budgeted, so.
Yeah, so that's all for implementation, planting, maintenance, watering, initial watering.
do we have to do any irrigation upgrades for any of these zones or locations for any of this?
That's not the plan right now. Right now, we're just planning to probably plant it in the right season, so that way we can take advantage of the rain, and then watering for 3 to 4 months.
Is it foreseeable that we're gonna have to add irrigation at all?
That's not what we.
Or it's not even in the scope,
No,
like
sir,
not
that's not.
necessary at
I don't
all?
believe it would be necessary. The idea to plant during the right season and then do an establishment period watering should be sufficient for most of the plant material you see here.
Okay, and then I had one more question.
Yes, sir.
On, let me pull it up. Just for example, on one of the charts where it talks about applicability, it says conditional. What does that entail? I understand a condition, is that like discussed from staff and like,
So the conditional would be in instances where it would need to meet certain degrees of criteria, like, you could have a big open area, but if you have a bunch of, or that's probably a bad way to describe it. Let's do like a medium
like a
landscape
case
strip.
by case basis?
Yeah, it's a case by case and really getting into more finite and area and site specifics.
Okay,
So it would be on a as needed or as approved.
thank you. Do any of the other board members have any questions for staff or Commissioner Giovi?
Sorry, I'm supposed to.
No, you're good.
Okay, back to the irrigation.
Yes, ma'am.
And I understand, ideally, you want to plant it in season where it's raining, but we can never predict the weather. I certainly think that irrigation should be in the budget. I mean, if we don't use it, that's great. It could be used toward more trees. But I don't think we should not address it in the budget.
You mean like with permanent irrigation? Like in-ground irrigation?
No, like that initial irrigation and maybe
Oh, okay,
budget.
yes,
yeah.
Yeah,
yes,
it's gonna be a
yes.
part of the tree.
How about the initial watering?
Right, the initial,
Oh, yes, that
Yeah,
was.
that's what they're
part of
gonna
the
do,
plan,
yeah,
right.
and they're gonna plant it
That,
probably
that will be,
during
that will be a part
rainy
of the-
season, depending on what they're planting.
yes. Okay, thank you.
All right, any other board members have questions? Seeing none, Mary, if you could call the roll?
Sure. CRA, Chair Reed,
Yes?
Board Member James,
Yes.
Board Member Rich.
Yes.
Board Member Giobi,
Yes,
Board Member Clark.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to action item number 3 regarding the heirs property assistance program update.
I'll give that update also. Panal
Thanks,
Gandhi
Panal.
Sabdas, CRA Director for the record. We've been implementing this program for the last 2 years, and the intent is to assist the heirs property owners to help clear their title. We want to preserve home ownership. We want to keep the generational wealth within the family and have ownership of the property. Promote neighborhood stability, reduce the risk of involuntary property loss, and help families access homeowners insurance, homestead exemption, financial opportunities, such as if they want to get a loan to put additional dwelling unit or additional outbuilding accessory unit on their property. This program would allow them to clear the title and have access to financial opportunities and also financial assistance to repair their homes or rehab their homes. Under the current program guidelines, eligible properties must be located within the CRA and have an assessed value of $300,000 or less. Assistance is provided as a zero-interest deferred loan of up to $3,000 per probate case, not to exceed $9,000 per property. That deferred loan is secured by a recorded lien and is forgiven after 3 years, provided that the homeowner remains in that property and has legal title. Since we implemented the program, we've conducted outreach and received interest from potential applicants. But through discussions with families and legal counsel, Bonnie Brown, who's here with us, we've identified several challenges that's affecting participation into the program. And particularly, some heirs properties require more than 3 probate cases to clear the title. And in these instances, the current maximum assistance that we provide through the program is not sufficient to complete the legal process. And some families are not willing to contribute for the additional costs. Staff has received feedback that some residents have concerns about participating in the program due to misunderstanding of the city's role. If the city's trying to take over the property and the deferred loan lien that is placed on the property if they go through the program. And additional outreach and education is required to clarify some of that misunderstanding. We really want them to understand that that the city is here to establish clear title so that they can retain ownership of their property. So staff is looking for direction from the board, whether the assistance should be based on the amount necessary to clear the title. So it could exceed more than $9,000 per property, and the assistance would be subject to available funding during that fiscal year. And any revisions, feedback that's provided today, we would incorporate into the program guidelines, and that would come before the CRB and CRA for review and consideration. The timing of this discussion is important because staff is preparing the fiscal year 2027 budget. So staff is looking for direction from the board on whether to increase the maximum assistance limit under the program, and if so, whether to allocate additional funding in fiscal year 2027 budget to support the increase. Staff is also requesting guidance on any potential revisions to the program guidelines so that we have a successful program and participation from the community. The CRA has contracted with Bonnie Brown, who's a probate attorney, to assist with the program. Bonnie is here and works directly with the applicants. So she can provide a little bit more additional insight as to what she is finding out from the applicants, answer any questions, some of the challenges and opportunities that we could do to improve the program application process. So that's my presentation. I would like to hear board's feedback on how we can improve the program.
Thank you, Pinal, for the update. Do any board members have any questions for Bonnie or Pinal? Commissioner Clark?
Yes. Pinal, did you tell us how many people have used the program so far?
Well, so far, we've only been able to assist one. We have one successful application, but we have about 5 or 6 pending because they need more than 3 probates. And the heirs, properties owners, they just don't have additional funding to contribute to the program.
How much do we have, how much do we have in that budget to help?
Budget about $20,000. And so that would assist maybe 2 or 3 property owners every year. But I think the limitation is the $9,000. We're just not able to help additional people because the guideline says up to $9,000. So we need to either change that or keep it the way it is and continue with the program and hope to assist people that just require 3 or less probates.
Thanks. Attorney Brown, can you tell us about the possibilities? Can you go up to the, when you get up there? For the funding, so Pinal is saying that we don't know which one will have 1 probate or 3 probates, but it seems like there are a few complicated ones. And based on that, what's happening, would it be a suggestion to increase the funding in this area so that we can get through more of these and get those properties available for people, especially in East Stuart, because that's where we're focusing this program, to get those probates done?
I think it would be a benefit. I've spent a lot of time in speaking with these families. Many of the original owners died years ago without a will, so it's the heirs at law statute that applies. Many of the heirs at law have died, and so we have to probate their estate as well to get this property through. And as Pinal said, most of them have 5, 6, 10 probates they need. And they're not able to pay. That's one of the feedbacks. I recently had some more feedback on the program, And my understanding with this program is the goal is to have title placed in the name of the rightful heirs so they can hopefully clean up the property, obtain loans, maybe assistance under different programs to beautify the area. The feedback that I've received is a situation with the lien that the city places on the property for a 3-year period. The unit owners, they just don't understand or they won't comprehend that they feel the city's trying to take the property from them. So my question would be, if the goal is to beautify the property, whether that's done by the people who are ultimately the title holders, or if they sell and the buyer beautifies it, is that lien really necessary if the ultimate goal is to clean up the property? So whether they keep it in the family or they sell it, I mean, you would think that a buyer coming in is going to improve the property. So that's just a different area to look at as well as increasing, instead of saying that we get 3 probates per property, if you have X amount of dollars, whoever applies, first come, first serve, whatever it takes to get the title through. And as we've discussed, if we can get some of these moving forward, then I think more homeowners will participate.
And the reason we did the lien is because we didn't want to scare the homeowners thinking that we're trying to help them clean the lien so that somebody else is going to come into their community and buy their property. So it was kind of more of a protection. But of course, there are some homeowners that don't want the lien because they think, you know,
The city's
that
going to take their property.
Right,
is
so
what they
either
think.
way, it's hurting the program.
Right, exactly.
Can I
Yeah,
just have you state your name for the record, ma'am?
Bonnie Brown.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm sorry. I almost said Your Honor. May I ask a question of the Attorney Pinal?
Sure.
Okay, so Mr. Baggett, I mean, we haven't, City Attorney, we haven't, you know, we're just looking at this now and talking about it. Is there some other language that we could use that's still strong, that lets the person whose property we're working with know that, number one, we're not allowing them to get this title cleared and then they run off and sell it for a higher price and it doesn't stay within the community and the generational wealth doesn't stay there. So there needs to be some way to kind of hold this property to maintain its original use or an improved use in the original manner, possibly with family members, but like with people, I don't know how, anyhow, is there some other method that we can use to ensure that it's not a turnkey operation where the city cleans it up and then somebody sells it for a higher price and then we just lose the whole idea of let that community try to work itself into becoming more something.
Well, if you remove the lien, there are going to be some people that are just going to sell the house right away. They finally can. They can't sell it now. It's almost, there's a protection in there now because they can't sell it. But they also can't get loans, mortgages, liens to improve the property, so it's kind of a double-edged sword. But if, you know, the lien sounds bad, but maybe communication could help as well. I mean, it's an interest-free loan, so it's not, you know, no payment loan, so lien. So they have 3 years, and they don't have to make a payment, so we don't foreclose on it. It's just there to cover that where they don't turn around and sell it right away. You know, you take away that, you might benefit some people, but there are some people that will turn around and sell it right away if you take away the lien.
Thank you.
So I don't know that there's a better way of doing it. It's either take the lien away or keep the lien there, but
Right.
the lien is not, they're concerned we're going to go foreclose on their property with
Yeah.
a lien. Once you have a lien, like a code enforcement lien, you can technically go and foreclose on the property if they don't pay it.
Okay, so,
But we're not mandating that they pay interest. We're not mandating that they make payments. We're just saying the lien stays there for 3 years and then it's removed automatically.
So
don't have
let
to do
me
anything.
ask something. Thank you, Mr. Baggett. Mr. Mayor, I'm gonna ask, I'm gonna put Mr. Frederick James on the hot seat, or one of our board members. So I'm just thinking that we've had the issue with code enforcement, especially in the East Stewart area. We want to get the area redeveloped. But we've had the issue with code enforcement where people believe that if there's a code enforcement issue, they have all these fines accruing, then the city's gonna foreclose on their property. We haven't done it, but we've seen a situation like with the Taylor property where the buildings were taken down, and then now there's still issues going on where we need that property to stay within the guidelines so that it's not in front of the magistrate all the time. But people have that suspicion that if there's something there from the city that's kind of like hamstringing them, it's a lien, then they're gonna be in the potential for foreclosure. So when somebody signs something and says, I wanna get my property cleared up with the Ears property program, and the city is a part of it with that lien, they're thinking, well, if something goes wrong, the city's gonna come take my property and do something with it, even though we said that that's not what is happening. So maybe it's it's always goes back to that trust issue. It's an education thing. You know Lake Worth, you know areas down south where people have redeveloped Delray Beach and other places. What is a good way that we can try to communicate this kind of thing and figure out how to make something work?
Before I speak, I saw a few other people that had comments.
You can address her
I
comment.
can
I'm going
address
to
her
move
comment.
on to
That's fine.
Commissioner
She's
Ridge.
already asked me to.
Thank you very much. I do understand the fear factor. Not that people have really had the dealings with the city, but because of not understanding the workings of the city. There's a lien. Right away, my mindset would be they put the lien on, so that would be a mechanism of stealing my property. All right, that's just the mindset of the people. To remove the lien, as you said, but I don't really understand why it would be a difference if someone came in and bought the property and beautified the property.
Right.
Yes, we'll lose the generational wealth, but it would also enhance the community. So with the lien being enforced, being a fear factor, I would recommend removing the lien. That's just my personal recommendation.
Would not?
Yes, remove it. And I don't know of another way. I had a similar situation with the church in Lake Worth, where Lake Worth actually said that because of an area that we own, a property that we own, did not have a sign, we couldn't use it as parking. And after we put they put a lien on us. And we had to deal with all of those issues later on. So my personal recommendation, knowing some of the people that have these heirs properties who don't understand the language and they don't understand the process, they would be afraid to just say, okay, go ahead and do it, because they feel like that the city's coming in. I understand when we had this discussion before, at the time, the mayor said, the city doesn't buy steal property. I mean, the city isn't designed to buy or sell people's property. That's not what the city's for. So if there's a way of helping the people to get those heirs properties cleared up, whatever we can do, I would say yes.
You're saying to keep the lien?
I
or
said get rid of the lien.
Get rid of the lien, okay, I just wanted to be sure. Thank you.
Does that conclude your comments, Commissioner
Yeah,
Clark?
yes, thank you for right now.
Member James. Commissioner Rich.
Yeah, this is a tough one. So, just to be clear, the monetary ceiling we're running into is not the $20,000 we've allocated, because we've only done it for one person, and they've only spent 9. So it's the amount we're allowing for any individual property. That's the financial ceiling we're running into. So what the city does not want to be in the business of is having
unlimited facilitating to an unknown amount for someone to sell their property. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Baggett. So that's the point of the 3 years. If you sell it within 3 years, you owe us the amount the city gave you to get clear title.
Correct, and it just automatically is removed at the end of
Right.
at the expiration of 3 years.
And the only way to protect the taxpayer's interest there is through a lien.
I mean, I'm not aware of it. I can't think of another way.
So what I don't understand, if someone wants to sell their property, why don't they accept the debt they owe to the city as part of that transaction? That confuses me. What they want to do is sell it,
I don't think they
get a
understand that.
no-interest loan from the city, clear up title and sell it.
I think there's just a fear that the intent, the city is just gonna foreclose when we have a lien on. That seems to
And
be.
we're not going to.
Right, that's,
So the buyer speaking to them isn't saying, wait, no, you're gonna sell it to me, I'll pay the city, however, that,
right now they
that's
can't.
hard to overcome that.
Right now, it's very difficult to sell it or have an interest buyer because the probate's not, there's no clear title.
Right.
You got 3 generations.
But this is
who-
a means of
Right.
accomplishing that.
And you're not.
We're not gonna.
We're capped at 20 grand. That's what you budgeted for it. So it's
No, we're
Right.
kept at 9 per.
well, right. I'm saying, but if we release the 9 cap per project, I would call it, you're still capped at 20 grand, which is what you guys have budgeted the project, the entire project. That's the aggregate.
What she said.
But we could change
I'm
it.
sorry, Ms. Brown. She said, we need to raise the per project, the per property limit.
Right.
As well as, are there a couple projects you're looking at that would be more than 20 per project? Having just gone through probate for a friend of ours where my wife was the PR, man, it's expensive. It
Yeah.
is expensive. And when
This
you
is a
have heirs, you
wonderful-
have heirs all over the country, right?
This is a wonderful program.
Yeah.
It truly is, and I have talked until I'm blue in the face with the residents.
Right.
It's a beautiful program, even with the lien. After 3 years, it goes away. If you sell within 3 years, you pay the city back.
Which seems
It's
fair to me.
I agree. It's wonderful, but they don't comprehend. Pinal and I attended an NCAA
NAACP.
NAACP meeting, and hoping that it would move forward, and they don't have trust.
And Pinal, this is a very finite number of properties. It's like 30, or is it 32? What?
33.
30, this is, I'm amazed we can't sit in a room with these people and say, hey, look, what do you want? How can we help you
We've tried.
accomplish that?
Yeah.
We can try again. We can call them.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mr. Campbell, Mr. Rich. We
Mr.
can
Rich.
probably try to get them maybe in small groups again and talk to them. Okay.
If what they want to do is sell, let's let them sell, but
Yeah.
the city's not going to give you money for
Yeah.
free.
Mr. Flanagan has a suggestion.
Okay.
You'd have to come to the mic.
No, we are giving them money for free.
Thank you, Ms. Brown.
Hey, guys, for the record, Joe Flanagan. By definition, I don't have a dog in this fight per se. I got involved a couple of years ago when there was a grant to beautify your property, for reimbursement for like painting or landscaping or something, and one of my friends applied for it. Couldn't get it because he does not have clear title. So I started doing a little investigating. I'm giving you some round numbers. His grandfather built the house in 1950. He died and left it to his son, who died and left it to his son, and now this son is the heir to the property. But it's still in the grandfather's estate. So that's what we got. And so then I found out, and Pinal did a great job of getting this grant put in place, the heir's property. And so it exists. The problem is, if you go back and kind of do the old family tree, you got granddad, 4 kids, 4 kids, and 4 kids. Now we got like 10 or 15 down at this level. And so, I love the idea. And Ms. Brown and I have talked, if I could go a step further, South Carolina has a state agency, and that's all they do is heirs property. And I've worked with them. South Carolina had some legislation, and I've shared that with our local legislators to get it here in Florida. There is, and Ms. Clark, sorry, you had mentioned something about letting the people know. There is legislation on the books right now, it exists from 2020, that says if I am the person that's living in the property and I'm going to sell it, I must legally reach out to every single heir whose name is there. That's law. It's in position right now, so I can't just say, I live it, I'm gonna take it. And when Ms. Brown and I were talking, one of the things is, as long as I've got my 7 siblings and we all agree, life is good. But one goes, well, wait a minute, no, I'm short some money. I want my $10,000 worth of this property, and the rest of the family doesn't have that kind of money, so then it complicates it. But what our education that we must do for this and the 33 properties in East Stewart, what I'd always said was, give me one. No, let me do my homework. Let's go out and find it. And we got one, and it's a perfect example. And probably half of you know this person, but it's Nina Dooley and Olivia Newton. That family, they have it, but I think they've got 5. And they don't have the discretionary funds. Let me kick out a couple $1,000s here to make this happen. If I can get them through the program, then you go door to door and go, you know them? Okay, you don't trust me. Do you know them? Go talk to them. It works. And I also know Jimmy Smith is actually dealing with this with his family in Georgia. So it exists. But anyway, there's a lot of things that are out there. I agree with the lien, but if I'm that heir and I want to sell the property, because nobody's living in it, and there are some situations where the youngest son's still living there, and he's not necessarily a very nice person. Oh, sorry.
3 minutes is up.
Thanks, Jeff.
I need to look down for the timer, but make it happen.
I'll come back to you, Commissioner.
No lien.
Yeah, let me remember what I was gonna say.
Commissioner Giobi.
Okay, I agree that, education and informing what that means is the most important. Developing that level of trust, maybe having those families meet separately with everyone. I don't know what the answer is. We could work on that. This is a question for our attorney, Attorney Backett. Can the lien, I'm sure you took standard lien language, can the lien be stated in a way that would be more understandable to the persons that would be signing it? It's legalese, and I don't know that, somebody sits there and says, oh my God, the first part, and oh my God, if this doesn't happen, can it be brought down? In the insurance world, they did something many years ago, which was the insurance policies have to be readable to the average public. And is there a way to make that lien something that's readable and understandable to the individuals who need to sell it?
I think it already is, because it's saying interest-free and no payments are due, and it expires at the end of 3 years. Seems simple.
I've not seen it, I have to say. I don't know
well,
what
that's
it's.
the terms of it. So,
Okay.
They just don't understand.
No.
And they're not getting, they're not like going out and hiring their own attorney. We're providing Ms. Brown, and so there's probably still some skepticism, even though you technically would have an attorney-client relationship with them, right? Yeah. So, yes. So, I think Mr. Flanagan's idea is probably best to take a particular party, work with them through the system, but currently we have the cap of 9,000 in 3 different probates, so we probably need to lift that.
Yeah,
And if you're concerned that would be exposing us to unlimited amount, it's still capped, the whole budget is 20 grand, so you're not gonna go, I guess that would be 2, it would be 6.5 probates that the max.
Yeah.
But if you can't do it on 3 properties, you could probably do it on 1 property.
Yeah,
You know?
and let something happen.
But I bet you there 5 to 10 is probably not gonna be abnormal there, because you have great-grandpa that died.
Right. And there's so many other
and then even
siblings.
at the grandparents level, there's 4 of them that died, and then all their kids, and then the great-grandkids. It's a mess. Each of them every death requires a probate.
Understandable.
So-
My next suggestion would be that I would not want to increase it. I would rather increase the amounts of, we're at a cap of 9, what is that, 2 probates?
3.
3 probates. So we're at a cap of 3. On an individual basis, I think we should review them. I don't think there should be an across the board, well, everybody gets 10. I think on an individual basis, let's look at the case, and for that particular one. And at the same time, we need to increase that $20,000 cap, because that obviously isn't going to cover many probates if there's 5 involved in one family.
Yeah.
So we need to look at both. We need to increase that 20K, and we need to, on a case-by-case basis, determine, okay, you exceed the 3 probates, and in your case warrants it. I think that's a lot of maybe due diligence on Attorney Brown's part, because you have to determine, going forward, are those 5 cases going to be at least doable? Yeah. So, we may not want to extend that monies to that family because maybe there's so many siblings that wouldn't agree that it's just not worth your time, our time, and the money. So I think that those are the suggestions. And I'm not adverse to, again, all of us or some of us meeting with people on a one-on-one basis if they have questions, and we can all have a cheat sheet, which says the basics for us, like this is what this means, this is where we go from here. So I think that sometimes those things are helpful too.
Is that your comments, Commissioner Giobbi?
That's it. I'm done.
Board Member Laughlin?
Okay, my thoughts are, there's an old case where a widow lost her home in Georgetown, and then the Congress voted to give her some money, and then one of the constituents was like, well, that's not your money to give. And here we are, we're giving away taxpayer funds. I'm going to go with what Cameron Ridge said. I think that we don't want to give away taxpayer funds. And I'm going to assume that Campbell Ridge was saying, I think we do need to have a little bit of insurance protection for taxpayer funds. They have a great program here. And my question is, when Ms. Brown, when you're working with these folks, have you ever did like an illustration to show, hey, if you wait, let's say your property's worth $200,000. If you want to sell it immediately, we take $3,000 as repayment for that program we gave you. If you wait 3 years, you get the full $200,000. I mean, you've tried that? It doesn't work, okay. Like, it should be pretty simple math, but, I get there's some fear, and I like what Mr. Flanagan pointed out. If you have one example,
Yeah.
then everybody falls in line. Like the old Snake River Land Company when they sold that whole Jackson Hole out. All it took was one rancher. So, and then if you're only capping at 20,000, if that one family gets in, well, then you're going to have a bunch of people lined up. So if you're only budgeting 20,000 a year, it could take years for people to clear it. But I think we definitely should have a cap to it. That's my comment.
Thank you, Board Member Laughlin. Board Member James?
Thank you. I think the language, there's nothing wrong with the lien, but it's just that fear between the person that you're telling that there's a lien on my property and the city. The other thing is I want to commend Joe because he's done research, and Attorney Brown, they've done the research with individual families. And I think once you identify that family and the structure that you're dealing with, and we remove the $9,000 cap, I think the program would move forward. You talked about how, in 3 years, if they decided to sell, it's been 3 years of the program, and we only have one,
right.
So I think if we address those issues, it would help. It may not solve it all, but I think it would help. And the forum of reaching out to individual families. I'm willing to put, the church, I serve as pastor at St. Paul AME Church in East Stuart. I live in East Stuart. But I don't know everybody in East Stuart, but there are family members in my church who's been there for 60, 70, 80, 90 years who know people. And if you're able to get one, I think somebody else, and it may take 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years, but at least you're eliminating that 33 homeowners are people who would be beneficial of the grant, not the grant, but this program.
Yes.
Thank you, Board Member James. Commissioner Clark?
Okay. So probate is always a hard nut to crack, and people don't like probate. But I agree with Commissioner Giobbi that if it's, and I don't know, I wasn't sure if on this particular case that Ms. Brown is working on, if she's at that point where she needs to come and ask for discretion, or Pinal needs to come and ask for discretion, that we're done so many people with regard to this family and we need to get more money out of the 20,000. If that's the case, if we want to do it on a case-by-case basis and bring it back, or if we want to give Pinal administrative authority to say, if it's over, you can do this, but you just need to report to us. If we need to lift something or change something, maybe this is a discussion now, so we need to work on that and decide what direction we want them to go in. So I think that that's important. Then to Mr. Flanagan. So this whole idea of mistrust and what the result of that is, and I think it's like people cutting off their nose to spite their face, whatever it is. Because there are people who believe that the city is going to take their property, or worse yet, the individual who's living in that home, whether they have 10 more brothers and sisters and they're there, somebody believes that because the city is clearing the property and it's being cleared in the name of one person, just so that that person can have control and do certain things and be able to apply for permits and do things, they believe that they're not going to get active with that property. So maybe that gives Bonnie more work. And I don't know if that's what the city needs to do, to clear it up, create a trust, do whatever needs to happen for that family so that they're sure that things will go forward in a proper manner. But that's one thing, because I think that has been an issue. People say, I've had people tell me they're not going to help the other family members because they're the ones who are living there, they're the ones who are getting the benefit, and they believe that they're not. But you know what, they're not getting the benefit anyhow because the property is not in somebody's name, and they can't sell it and they can't do something. So we need to do a lot of education, and we just need to continue to work on it. And we did a good job, Mr. Flanagan and the NAACP members did a good job in the community, and I think we just need to continue working on that. And Ms. Brown, if you're at a limit on this case, like I said, it's a test case, then maybe the information should be brought back to us, and then we have an action item where we can, in this particular case, increase or do whatever, if that's what we need to do.
Does that conclude your comments?
Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Giobi?
Okay, I agree with Board Member Laughlin. This is taxpayer money, and we are the guardians of that money. But when these cases are finally out of probate and people are able to borrow against their property or improve it or sell it and someone else improves it, the taxpayer benefits. I mean, everyone in the neighborhood, everyone in the area in Stuart benefits. It's not just that particular family. So it's in our best interest to help them. It also is in our best interest, as while we're educating them, is to make them understand, grandpa, or great uncle is now 90, you wait another 3 years, you have another layer of probate to go through. It's not going to get any better. You really need to strike while the iron's hot, all of those things that need to be education-wise. And I don't know how many, if we want to volunteer or whatever, but I'm more than happy to have a cheat sheet for all of us where we're willing to sit with individuals of these families and explain it to them. And I do understand that, I'm cousin Joe and I'm living in the house and I'm obviously getting all the benefit of it, but Joe must be paying the fuel, the upkeep and whatnot, so he is at least paying a rent, and maybe the other siblings are not, and I think they just need to understand that. So, anyway, that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Giobi. Board Member James?
My final comment. The people in East Stewart, you would have to understand the history and how that fear was developed. We were giving a community because we were not able to go in other places.
Live here.
All right? And so the distrust has been there. And even though the city means well, and the people don't understand that it's a zero interest, that it can't hurt you, it's only going to help you. That fear between the city and the people that live there, it's there. It's a reality.
Yes.
They live with it every day. And because of it, it's going to take the education. It's going to take people like Lawyer and Joe to sit down with individuals and say, look, this person was able to do it. The city wants to help. And I think if we're able to do it, it would erase some of the imagery of the city wants my property. I know that the city can't take my property. I know that. But you can put code enforcement, liens, code enforcement, and it will go into foreclosure, and they'll lose whatever that dwelling is that they have now. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member James. Commissioner Giobi?
So I do understand the trust level, but if we could just get two families through this. Well, but two families through this, you now have shown everyone in that neighborhood that it's possible, and they're benefiting from it, and then they can move forward. And maybe we look at the code enforcement. I'm sure that some people have pushed the area of wanting, having to get code enforcement, but maybe we work on that so we're not putting code enforcement liens on top of the lien that they're now sitting on.
That's good.
I mean, we just make an exception. Maybe it's an exception with a dated time on it. It's connected with the property. If you continue and get the property cleared, the court enforcement goes away. Or at that point, if you've now gotten property cleared, you're able to borrow money, and you haven't cleaned up your code enforcement, then yes, you're going to be expected to pay for it. So, I mean, there's just other ways to do that.
For clarification, Panal, you're looking for a motion on this, so you know what direction to go in. My comments are, it sounds like the community needs informed and educated on it. I think we should have a motion regarding having a meeting with these potential cases or the heirs program, and maybe have them come down here and actually meet their elected officials and advisory board members and hear it from us personally. Sounds like that's one of the big issues, as well as how much we're gonna spend. When this program was initiated, it was $3,000 per, correct? And then we went to 6,000 and then 9,000.
Well, 3 to 9.
3 to 9. So we went from 3 to 9, and that was for one specific case, I believe. And there's some where there could be 8 to 10 probates, so that could potentially cost 20,000 plus then just to achieve one success story. And we budget $20,000 per year.
Right.
And we don't even know if all 33 of these people want to participate. You have 5 or 6 pending. Have you heard from the other 20 plus that they just said they don't want to participate?
We've sent notices to them. We just haven't heard from them. It's not that they don't want to participate. They just maybe not.
And this is to the mailing address on file with property appraiser, correct?
Right, yes.
A lot of absentee.
To the property owners.
Have we door knocked the houses at all? Just to see if we can make contact?
We've sent notices, and when we had the
Yeah.
NAACP meeting, they did send out notices to those property owners also, but no, we have not door knocked.
I mean, that might be something as well, as maybe to make contact with someone that's staying there just to even see.
But some of these, they're not even living there.
It's absentee, a lot of
Just not even
absentee.
there.
Gotcha. Because the whole purpose of the program is to create generational wealth. I know there's been discussion about removing a potential lien. I don't see the need in that, because then they wouldn't be able to sell the property. They would have the generational wealth, and that's the purpose of the program.
I mean, we have 4 or 5 pending applications, so we don't even need to reach out to anybody right now. We can just help the ones that are pending and get those moving, because they will pass on the word to other property owners.
Well, I was just thinking for long-term,
They're willing to participate.
Yes.
yeah.
It's just more than
Well, I was thinking for long-term as well with some of the things that were discussed, because as we move on, we might only do one a year, and then more people might want to be a part of it, and then we have 25 cases, and we're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on the program.
But it's important. Reparation.
But those were my comments, but yes, board members, Panal's looking for a motion, so she knows what direction to go in with this program, as far as if we're increasing the price per property, if we're removing the lien. That's what's been, those are the two things that have been discussed. I'd like to see a meeting with the community potentially, maybe, so they're not fearful of their city government. Yes, Mike?
Mayor, is there a potential, or to the board members, to, I mean, if the program hasn't been used but budgeted over the past few years, and I just asked Pinal the question, could we afford to raise that aggregate of that total sum of monies available for these current applicants. They're standing in line. And if you could guarantee them that the funding is there and then walk them through the process, I mean, maybe that's the way to go at the present time, is guarantee that the funding is available. Pick the number, doesn't matter. If it's not 20, it's more than 20,000. Could be 100,000, because again, these funds haven't been used over the course of a couple of years. And that money is there. I just asked Pinal that question. So that's one way to do it, is to increase the aggregate sum available, take care of the people that are standing in line today, and then I think you'll get the success stories, at least one, that's all you need, and carry on from there.
Well, I think if we were increasing it, that would be for this fiscal year or the new fiscal year upcoming.
It would be for the new fiscal year, and these probates take a long time. So, I mean, one that we were working on almost took a year. So we don't reimburse the attorney until it's cleared, the title has been cleared. So I'm not concerned whether we have enough money this fiscal year or not. I do plan to budget again for fiscal year 2027. That's going to come before you in August or September. That budget is going to come before the CRB and CRA board. So if you give me direction to increase that to $100,000, I can put that in my budget for fiscal year 2027. And then other two direction that I need is, do we remove the limitation? In order for the program to work, I need to revise the guidelines, and those guidelines would come before the CRB and CRA for approval. So we're not making any decision. I just need some feedback as far as, okay, we're going to go ahead and remove the limitation, or maybe give me a cap of 15,000 or 16,000, whatever that is. And as far as the lien, we could do the education on that. So we could keep that or remove it. Again, need direction on that, or we can just educate, go out in the community and educate more.
Yeah, I definitely think the lien should be there. The only thing with these 5 or 6, you're estimating 20,000 per. Is that correct, Bonnie?
Well, it's 3,000 per probate, right? So,
Yep. I mean, so you're talking 100,000 plus just for these 5 or 6. Yeah.
And it's not that we're going to use all 100,000 in 1 year. Again, I think it could be multiple years, because once bond is
It would accumulate, though, depending
would
on what happened
accumulate,
next
yes.
year's budget cycle if you roll. Yeah. Commissioner Rich?
I was just going to make a motion to say, as Board Member James pointed out, we've been doing it 3 years, is that correct?
Yeah.
And we've only had one, so they're not knocking the door down. But I don't like pushing the limit over 20,000 right now, but I don't have a problem with that going to one specific case. And let's see how that works and what opportunities. I like the idea of them having some skin in the game. I don't feel the city has to foot the entire bill. And if they're not willing to come up with a small additional amount, then that doesn't bother me that much. But certainly 20,000, so I would just say the motion is that we keep it at 20. Is the question you made, Mr. City Manager, that has she accumulated since we haven't paid the 20?
Right, we have like,
Do we have 40 in there?
I don't play the accumulation
Okay.
game, sir.
Okay.
As I discussed last commission meeting, a budget ends at the budget
Right,
conclusion.
okay,
So
that's what I thought.
on
Okay.
September 30th, we close out the budget.
That's right.
And move on. I'm not saying these funds roll over. I'm just saying,
Okay,
I asked the question to Pinal, are the funds available? The answer she gave me was yes.
Commissioner Rich?
well,
do you
my
mind?
motion is that
Commissioner
we
Rich.
maintain an annual budget of, annual max of 20,000, but that it can be applied to any single case.
I wanted to just ask Pinal a question real quick, and then I'll address the motion. Pinal, in the past, have we spent more than 9,000 for anyone? Because I can't remember exactly how it worked. Like, we had someone apply, and was that where we were at 3,000 and had to up it to 9? And that's the one case that had success.
Yeah.
Same case.
So, yeah.
So in theory, if we kept it the same, do we have one in particular to where
We
would
don't
just-
have any application right now that just meets the 3 probates. They're all more than 3 right now. So we're not able to move forward with any of those applications.
So with Campbell Rich's motion of it being 20,000, out of those 5 or 6, is there one that will fit that criteria? Okay. All right, so Commissioner Rich has a motion to raise it to 20,000 and still leaving the lien, correct?
Okay.
Okay, just want to make sure. Do we have a second for Commissioner Rich's motion?
I'll second.
All right, so we have a second by Board Member James. Are there any public comments regarding this motion?
Nothing I can do in 3 minutes.
Okay. Any of the board members have any yes, Commissioner Giobbe.
I was just gonna ask Commissioner Rich if he would amend his motion to up the annual fee available for us to use to 40,000. And then currently, we are at a impasse because we have people that are past the 9,000 that we have. So I don't know if we want to increase per that particular air or increase it to, what would the level be?
With the threat of this ad valorem referendum hanging over all
Correct.
municipalities in the state of Florida, absolutely not.
Absolutely not to what? Which one?
Raise it above 20.
Okay,
Not
but
at
we
this
can
level.
then, you want to do the we could raise it more than 9.
No, we're
That's what the
raising it
motion
to
is.
20.
Yeah, that's what the motion
Okay.
is to raise it to 20.
Okay.
Any individual
Isn't it?
case can go
Okay.
up to 20.
Up to 20.
And this is 20, this would be 20,000 for this fiscal year or the upcoming fiscal year?
That'd be 10 years.
It would be
before
for the
something-
upcoming, it'd be for the upcoming, because there's no way we'd be able to finish a probate in the next
Okay,
few
it'd be
months,
for
so
the
it would be the upcoming
So
fiscal
we'll
year.
see it in the budget workshop then.
Right.
That'd be 10 years before some people get off the list.
Commissioner Clark?
So I said it'll be 10 years before some people get off the list. Because we have, what, six cases now on, waiting in the wings, and they have more than 5 probates involved with it. Well, let's finish this one and see how it works, and let's meet with the residents. I think all of those things are important.
We do need to increase we right now are at a cap, 9.
We are, that's what the motion is. The
Oh, okay.
motion is
All right.
increasing it to 20,000 and keeping the lien.
Okay, yes, definitely.
Do any other board members have any questions for city staff or Bonnie? Seeing none, Mary, roll call?
Board Member Rich?
Yes.
Board Member Giobbe?
Yes.
Board Member Clark?
Yes.
Chair Reed?
Yes.
Board Member James?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Let's see. We have on our agenda packet staff update. Are there any staff updates?
I don't have any update at this time.
All right, thanks, Panal, for everything. All right, I'm going to adjourn this meeting at 5:39 PM.